What's up, guys, and welcome to a special Week 4 preview edition of Q&A, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and Twitter and answer them here in video format on this show. And we're just going to jump into the questions this week. The first one from Evo B, who says, Dak has been great against the blitz. Do you think that our defensive line can give enough pressure by themselves so we can drop 7 and cover most of the time? That has been the ideal for the Cleveland Browns throughout the entire season. That they're just going to get pressure with the front four and try to cover with whoever is back. The good news is that the Browns don't blitz a lot anyways, so they aren't really going to come into this game thinking heavy blitz against Dak, who's great against the blitz, one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL against the blitz. So I think the Browns are going to go into this thinking they can get pressure with the front four. Can they? I think they should. Dallas's offensive line is not the Dallas offensive line of old, or at least it hasn't been throughout the first 3 weeks of the season. They've been shuffling a lot of pieces around. Tyron Smith might come back, but then that axes more questions about this offensive line. Are they going to move some pieces around? Who's going to play where? Is Zach Martin going to kick inside or outside? And what does that mean for the other tackle position if he does or does not do that? Those questions there. Myles Garrett, I actually like his matchup against the Tyron Smith. So I think they'll be able to get enough pressure inside and outside with just the front four, leaving them in a more favorable position to drop all these guys back and be able to cover. But again, they've had all these guys back in coverage all season long, and it hasn't really helped. I think they just do that more out of necessity because they can't cover at all if they stunt somebody on a blitz. The next question comes from Pat Miggs, who says, hey, Quincy, are you happy that the Ravens got thumped by the Chiefs on Monday Night Football? I'm happy the Ravens got embarrassed, but it also reveals just how far the Browns are from Super Bowl contention. See, don't fall into this trap. Football is a day-to-day game. It's a week-to-week kind of thing, right? Some matchups are very good. Some matchups are very bad. Just because the Titans beat the Ravens by 50 points does not mean they will beat the Browns, who lost to the Ravens by 50 points or whatever. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's not linear. It's not scalable like that. Every game is its own little unique world, and you need to view it like that. So just because the Ravens got stomped out by the Chiefs and the Ravens beat us doesn't mean that the Chiefs would beat us by 100-something points. That's not really how it works, because the Ravens and the Browns because the Ravens, Browns, and Chiefs all got different strengths and weaknesses, all match up differently, and on any given Sunday, all of that can change. So don't think that's the reason the Browns aren't a Super Bowl contender. Next question comes from Giants Nation, who says, what's up, Q? My question is, what is your rating on the NFC East? The reason why I ask is if my Giants can win because the Washington football team are the top team and they are on a 2-game losing streak. But what do you think of the NFC East? Yeah, I mean, it's Dallas's division to lose. Even if they go 1-3 this weekend, it's Dallas's division to lose. Philly looks like an absolute mess right now, but I'm confident they'll finish 8-8. Dallas should be 10-6. They look like a 10-6 team early on. They've just had a rough schedule. So I think Dallas will be fine at the end of the season. They'll be 10-6. And then, Washington and New York look like sub 4-win teams, in my opinion, from what I've gleaned of them in the short part of this season. So that's kind of how I think the NFC East is going to line up. I don't think it's going to be a 2-playoff team type year for them, though. The next question comes from Harry Dozier, who says, hey, Quincy, loving the channel here in England. Do you think with the suspect Cowboys secondary, Odell can finally have a statement game to quell some of the rumors about his production? We'll see. We'll see. I don't think that's going to be the directive coming out. And if that is, I don't think that's the right directive. I think Odell will be able to get open, have some spots here and there, but I don't know if this is going to be the game where the Browns are set on giving Odell all this production. I don't think that's how this offense is going to work this year. So yeah, the Cowboys secondary is weak, but the question you have to ask yourself is, what's a better game plan? Trusting Baker Mayfield to get the ball to Odell Beckham, which is a fine game plan. But when you have one of the best run-blocking offensive lines in football with 2 of the best running backs in football, that's just a much better option 100% of the time. It's really no shade on Baker Mayfield. It's not like they're just deciding to run the ball with bums there instead of let Baker throw like they were in San Francisco with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's just that you are set up to have one of the strongest rushing attacks in recent NFL history. It would be kind of foolish to think that anything else on this team could outpace power that. Maybe if it was like prime 2010 Aaron Rodgers behind center and these wide receivers, yeah, you might have a shot at doing that kind of, going in with that kind of game plan. But with Baker Mayfield being where he's at in his development, it's just a safer bet to go with the running backs. Next question comes from Jessen, who says, hey, Quincy, follow of yours all the way from the Philippines. My question is, who do you think should step up for the Browns to beat the Cowboys? Keep on doing what you're doing, man. Nothing but love. I think for the Browns to beat the Cowboys, you're going to need Baker Mayfield to step up. I don't know if that means more pass attempts. I don't think it means more pass attempts. I think that means just making more plays with those pass attempts, being able to attack downfield more efficiently and doing things like that. So if the Browns want to win this game, I do think it's going to take Baker Mayfield to step up. It's also going to take somebody in the secondary to step up and get a couple of turnovers. The next question is from Alan Ortini, who says, hey, Quincy, not Browns related, but after watching Monday Night Game, why do you think Eric Mangini is not a head coach in the NFL? Thanks for the content. Keep up the great work. I did a video on this a while ago, so you can check that out on the sub box, but the long story short of it is people sometimes get weird about who they want to give a head coach opportunity to and who they don't. And they make up all of these excuses that just don't really make sense in a football kind of way. And with Eric Mangini, he's been a victim of that because, for 2 years now, people have said, well, he doesn't call plays. And he doesn't call plays, in my opinion, is one of the weakest excuses not to give a good offensive coordinator the job. Because calling plays is like 5% of the job that an offensive coordinator does. There's a reason why a lot of head coaches can call plays and be the head coach, because it's not necessarily the most weighty thing to do. It's actually just a small thing. It's the most public-facing thing to do, so people in the public see it and go, oh, that's who's in charge. But the important things that an offensive coordinator does that actually scale to being a head coach are things like locker room management, are things like being able to draw up plays and do the things that Eric Mangini has proven that he can do. So why is he not a head coach in the NFL? A lot of reasons. Again, and I did that more thoroughly in a video earlier this year, so please check that video out. But yeah, it is kind of head-scratching that Eric Mangini was available to be a head coach for 2 years after being the offensive coordinator for the best quarterback in football of the last 2 years, almost ever, and has not been able to get a job. I think that is kind of weird. The next question comes from Timmy D, who says, will constant pressure on Dak force him into making questionable decisions with the ball? If not, what can they do to slow down Dak in that high-powered offense? Yes, pressure on Dak will slow down this offense, with a caveat. If you can get it with the front four. If you can get it with the front four, Dak becomes a pedestrian quarterback. But that's very hard to do. It's easier said than done. So yeah, if the Browns can get pressure with their front four and be able to drop back, it's going to be less lanes for Dak to run and throw, and it's going to mean good things for this Browns defense. But can they win that battle up front with just them alone? It's going to be one heck of a question to answer during this game. Next question comes from Corey Clayton, who says, do you think the Browns will stick with the run-heavy offense or get too aggressive and try to throw against the Cowboys' weaker pass defense? This is a big concern, right? I think they'll come out and try to run the ball. But they've been in a situation 2 times against Baltimore where they had to come back after shooting themselves in the foot and try to get back into the game where they did all that shotgun stuff and it didn't work. And then against Washington in the third quarter where they tried to get into all that shotgun stuff, run all that empty, and it didn't work. So I hope that's not the goal coming in. I think they need to attack this defense much like they attacked Cincinnati's defense in week 2. So that's what I would recommend. That's what I hope they stick with. Next question comes from Wolf Trainer 35 Sports, who says, can Baker Mayfield have over 250 yards, and will Austin Hooper get the yardage that we thought he would? Love your channel. Keep going strong. I think this is actually the game for the Browns to be able to get Austin Hooper the ball, because Jalen Smith against him, I like that matchup, and also to get Baker Mayfield over 300 yards for the first time this season. Again, Baker Mayfield has gotten over 300 yards plenty of times in his career, so I don't know if the question is like, can he ever do it, or can he in this offense? The answer is yes in both. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. This is going to be a game where Baker's probably going to have to throw for over 300 yards and get the ball to Austin Hooper with how matchups are looking. The next question comes from Mason McHugh, who says, what happened to Donovan Peoples Jones? when do you think they'll play him? They'll probably play him this week. He'll probably see some punt return snaps. Yeah, I don't think he'll see any kick return kicks. They brought back Dontrell Hilliard, and specifically Dontrell Hilliard does kick returns. So I think it'll be Donovan Peoples Jones, punt return, Dontrell Hilliard, kick return. All right, but that's it for the pregame questions. If you want to ask questions after the game for the post-game kind of show that I'm going to do for the Q&A, make sure you're subscribed and notified so when that prompt comes up, probably at 6 p.m. on Sunday, to ask questions about the game that just happened, that hasn't happened yet. Make sure you're subscribed and notified so you get a notification there so you can ask your question first. But that's it for this Q&A. Again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day and have a good night.